What's up, YouTube? It's Ask the Young One with CreateHigherVibrations.com. And I wanted to make a quick video and talk about the setup. Some people I know probably watching this right now are probably going to relate to this and understand because they're probably going through it at the moment. And what I mean by the setup is when a narcissist devalues you or has discarded you, they are going to treat you in ways that are extremely abusive and toxic, and they are going to want to get a reaction from you. And this is the setup. Everything that they're doing at this point is to get an emotional reaction from you. This is what they call, some people might call it reactive abuse, where you begin to really start to lose yourself and you start finding that you're acting in ways and reacting to them in ways that are not who you are. And this is what they're wanting you to do. And they do this through manipulation, through gaslighting, through ignoring you, through treating you like you don't matter. Many ways, through withholding sex, through withholding love, through, again, triangulation, many ways that they'll do pretty much, what they do. And this is to get a complete negative reaction from you because they want to be able to say, hey, see, this is what I'm saying. They're crazy. Look how they're acting. Like they're so calm and cool while they're doing these things because they know what they're doing when they're doing these things. They know that you're a feeler, that you're an emotional person, that you have feelings, that you have empathy, that you're able to care for others. And they know that you're going to react when you're completely... when these things are happening. So it's important to understand what's happening. If you find yourself not being able to understand and you find yourself reacting in a very angry way. Like I know for me, in my experience, I kind of went crazy. I kind of started reacting very angry because, I was married, I had a child, and I didn't want my child to go through a divorce ever. I never wanted to bring another child into this world and have them go through that ever. And so I started feeling extremely helpless because you're battling someone that never loved you. You're battling, trying to get an illusion to break itself open, and it's not even real. And so when you're going through it, you don't understand exactly, and it will create a very helpless feeling, like there's nothing you can do to make this stop or change or get better or anything else. And for me, anger became the defense for the helplessness, to not feel so helpless. Instead, I felt angry. And so I would lash out into that, and that guy would get constantly used. Oh, he went crazy last night. Oh, he's, all this shit. And then even throughout court, because the goal, the agenda was to have control over a child, because that's what these people need. They're insecure in their parenting, so they need power and control over a child. Because if you have any, they may not be seen. That these are all things that run through their head. And I can't explain exactly why they do it because I'm not one of them. And so, I know in my situation that was the goal. The goal was to create and use the human side of a person to create a narrative, to be able to use, to win. It's what it was about, to win. So many of them will do many different things, and they'll want to keep their agenda going. They want to keep their image going. They want to be able to win over your friends. They want to be able to win over everyone. They want you to just fall apart, because if you fall apart, you can't expose them. And so there's an agenda behind their madness of what they're doing. And so it's important to understand that if you feel like this is happening, and you can always tell, because when you can self-reflect, which they cannot do, but you can self-reflect and you can be aware of when you're starting to lash out in ways that are just not who you are. They're starting to bring out a side of you that really lies beneath the surface. And even for many of us, we're not even aware is there, because we're not aware. Really, it's like parts of us that get suppressed into our shadow side, and these people, through their triggering and the behaviors, they will trigger these parts to come out. And then of course the ego wants to defend that and keep that from coming out and being seen. So the ego then responds, usually again, one of the biggest things with sadness and helplessness is anger. And so I know in my case, I responded with a lot of anger. I was very angry with what was happening, and I was very helpless to it. And so I wanted to make a quick video and just talk a little bit about that in case someone is going through it right now. I know I have a client, and she's super aware, like she understands, and it's like she sees through it all. So it's amazing for her. Like for me, I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea why these people were doing what they were doing. I had no idea what was going on with it. And so I just was reacting constantly, reacting. My client, on the other hand, she's very, very aware as to what she's dealing with. So she knows when when the narc does something, she knows it's to get a reaction from her. So she knows to go into the back, bring herself to the moment, bring herself present, and not give into it. And it drives him more crazy and more mad. It kind of just what it's really doing is just kind of boomeranging it back to him instead of something she's taking on. Of course, it still gets draining. It still is very energy draining to deal with. But it's something they're always doing. They're always running these agendas, and it's literally a setup. And until you cut it off, and until you're able to get away and just cut that relationship off, if you're going through a divorce, you have to just cut it. I mean, literally, still, even with kids, in that very beginning moment, you probably should just go through attorneys. And that sucks, because attorneys aren't, in my opinion, are not out to help you. And so, but it's still probably safer than trying to deal with them, because they're still going to be running their setup. I know afterwards, some other things that I dealt with that you can look out for would be the new supply, the new person. The one that I was discarded for was the one I was dealing with when I emailed about our child. He was the one answering emails. It's not, that's shit. That's not his business. That's no one's business. And yet this is what they were doing, because they were triangulating you into some more drama, again, trying to create more drama. There's things they'll do. They'll call with people on three-way to listen to then try to draw a reaction from you while someone else is listening. There's lots of things that these people will do. And it's important to understand that the cognitive dissonance gets really tough in this situation, but it's important to understand what you're exactly dealing with. And these people are not out to care. They're out to hurt you at that point. If they're trying to get or win something out of the relationship, even if it's just their image, they're going to be doing things like this to set you up so that you will react to them. And so I wanted to make a quick video just in case somebody's dealing with it. I know it's hard, but I know there's a big difference. Man, sorry, it's like hot as all get out here. But I know there's a big difference when you are aware of what you're dealing with and when you're not aware. When you're not aware of what you're dealing with, you're going to fall all into the traps. But when you are aware, I can tell you from experience with working with someone that is very aware of what they're dealing with, it's not to say that she doesn't have her moments, because it's very hard to, sit back and not stand up for yourself. But at the same time, there's very few of those negative moments that will affect anything on her outcome. And so, I think it's important to put it out there. It's another thing you have to do. I think it's going to be a big part of the healing again when you go back and you start to self-reflect. You start to understand what was being brought up in those moments and why we were tolerating of it. That's one of the big things for me when I was healing those parts and letting go of that situation was why that was one of the questions for myself. Why did I tolerate it? Why did I even continue to allow myself to be in the situation? But again, it was a learning experience. I had to go through it to learn it. It was an experience that taught me something about myself. It taught me about a trauma within myself called helplessness that was triggered from an outer source. So that taught me how to heal that part of myself and not rely or be dependent on another for emotional needs. And so it's important to understand these things. Again, that's a whole nother video into going into things. But again, this video is more for be aware if you're in the situation. And one of the keys really is you'll notice you're being drawn into becoming a person that you're not, that truly you're not. They're really drawing your shadow side out of you. And it's important to be mindful in those moments to not give them a negative reaction that can be used against you, because it's a setup. Every bit of it's a setup. Everything after once the devaluation starts, and everything after the discard, everything that happens is a setup, either to use you, to win, to do something, to gain from you, to fulfill their image, whatever it is, it's a setup. So it's best that once you go. But if you're in the middle of it and this is happening to you, stop reacting to their shit. Stop it. This shit. What we have to realize is they're treating us that way because it has to do with them. It has nothing to do with you. You're not doing anything to deserve that kind of treatment. This has to do with them and who they are and their disorders. And so you have to realize this, and it's hard. I understand it's hard, but I wanted to put this out there, throw at least my take on it, my perspective, because in the end, it's going to come down to growth. In the end, all of this is teaching you something about yourself. Once it's all over, in the end, that's what it's all about. So I hope this video helps, and if it does, if you could like, subscribe, thumbs up. I know nobody's probably watching it this long because who knows. But anyway, thank you if you are, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Namaste.